The words hit like a sledgehammer. Thomas Markle Jr. stared into his camera, eyes blazing with fury, and delivered a message that should send chills down Meghan Markle's spine. "You will not get within 20 feet of my dad. I can promise you that." This was not a casual warning. This was a declaration of war from a brother who has watched his sister abandon their father for 7 long years. And now, with Thomas Markle Senior fighting for his life in a Philippine hospital, Jr. has drawn a line in the sand that Meghan may never be able to cross. The timing could not be more catastrophic for the Duchess of Sussex. Just hours after her Netflix special With Love, Meghan dropped to disastrous reviews, news broke that her father had undergone emergency surgery. His leg had been amputated. Doctors warned the family it was touch and go. And while Thomas Sr. lay in intensive care hooked up to machines wondering if he would survive, his famous daughter was busy sharing Colbert clips on Instagram and letting her PR team craft carefully worded non-responses. But Thomas Jr. was not having it. In a now-deleted YouTube video that sent shockwaves across social media, he unleashed years of pent-up rage against his sister. "This is the hardcore truth," he declared. "This is how it is going down." His message was clear. Meghan has had 7 years to pick up the phone, 7 years to send a real message, 7 years to show even a shred of humanity toward the man who sacrificed everything to give her the life she now flaunts in Montecito, and she chose silence, every single time. What makes Junior's threat so powerful is not just the anger behind it. It is the credibility. He has been in the Philippines caring for their father since January. He was there when Thomas Sr. survived an earthquake. He has been the one changing bandages, managing medications, and sitting by his bedside while Meghan posed for Netflix cameras thousands of miles away. Junior has earned the right to be his father's gatekeeper, and he has made it abundantly clear that Meghan's PR stunts will not be tolerated. The contrast is staggering when you think about it. On one side, you have a son who dropped everything to care for his ailing father in a foreign country. On the other, you have a daughter worth millions who cannot be bothered to make a phone call. Junior put it bluntly, "You are a lying scumbag who does not deserve anything except what you are getting right now in the press." Harsh words, certainly. But after watching his father suffer stroke after stroke, heart attack after heart attack, all while Meghan built her brand on family values she does not practice, can anyone really blame him? The walls are closing in on Meghan Markle, and her own brother just slammed the door shut. But the real horror of this situation goes far deeper than family drama. Thomas Markle Sr. is no stranger to suffering. The 79-year-old has endured more medical emergencies in the past 7 years than most people face in a lifetime. Heart attacks, strokes that robbed him of his ability to speak, forcing him to communicate through a whiteboard, an earthquake that shook his Philippine apartment building to its core. But nothing could have prepared him for the moment doctors told him they had to remove his leg to save his life. The blood clot was massive. Surgeons at the Cebu hospital faced an impossible choice: remove the limb or risk the infection spreading through his entire body, causing sepsis and almost certain death. Dr. Neil Sonoro, the surgeon who performed the operation, explained the grim reality to the Daily Mail. There was no option but amputation. The clot was so large we could not risk removing it first and then having the infection from the foot spread around his body. There was a danger of gangrene setting in. Thomas came through the surgery, but now he faces a recovery that will test every ounce of strength he has left. He has already started gentle physical therapy sessions from his hospital bed. And despite everything, despite the pain, despite the betrayal, despite 7 years of silence from his youngest daughter, Thomas Markle Senior, remains remarkably hopeful. His words to reporters were nothing short of heartbreaking. "I am determined to walk again. I sometimes get a weird feeling that my leg is still there." The doctor said it was a common thing for people to feel phantom limbs. Let that sink in for a moment. This man, abandoned by his own daughter at his most vulnerable, is lying in a hospital bed experiencing phantom sensations from a limb that no longer exists. And yet his thoughts turn not to bitterness but to reconciliation. "I feel so sad that our family has grown so far apart," he said. "I hope that this might help tear down the walls between us and bring our family back together. It is time to set aside the past and make our family whole again. Please let bygones be bygones." The grace in those words is almost unbearable when you consider how Meghan has treated him. This is the same man who worked 75-hour weeks as a lighting director to pay for her dance classes. The same man who transformed his bathroom into a darkroom when 12-year-old Meghan decided she wanted to be a photographer. The same man who put gas in her car as she drove from audition to audition, believing in her dreams before anyone else did. And now he lies in a foreign hospital, missing a leg, still hoping his daughter might find it in her heart to call. Thomas Markle Sr. knows he has a long road ahead. Months of rehabilitation, learning to walk with a prosthetic, adjusting to a completely different life. But the physical wounds will heal eventually. The emotional ones may never recover. And Meghan's response to all of this? That is where things get truly infuriating. When news broke that Thomas Markle Senior was fighting for his life, the world waited to see how Meghan would respond. Surely, people thought, this would be the moment she finally reached out. This would be the crisis that forced her to pick up the phone and reconnect with the father she had ghosted for 7 years. Instead, what we got was a masterclass in crisis PR that fooled absolutely no one. First came the statement that Meghan had reached out to her father. Vague, non-committal, deliberately ambiguous. What did reached out even mean? A phone call? A text? A carrier pigeon? Nobody knew because the Sussex team refused to clarify. But when pressed for details, the truth emerged, and it was even more insulting than silence would have been. Meghan had sent an email to a man lying in intensive care with machines monitoring his every heartbeat. An email to a 79-year-old who had just lost his leg and was pumped full of medication. But here is where it gets truly absurd. The email address she used was one Thomas had not accessed in at least 5 years. Her team's excuse? When the email did not bounce back, they assumed he received it. Let that logic wash over you for a moment. Meghan Markle, the woman who preaches about compassion and connection at every opportunity, thought the appropriate way to reach her dying father was through an outdated email address, and when it did not return an error message, she apparently dusted off her hands and considered the job done. Mission accomplished. PR box checked. The Daily Mail's Caroline Graham, who has been stationed at the hospital with Thomas, asked him directly, "Have you heard from your daughter?" His answer was devastating in its simplicity. No. Has she called? No. Have you had an email? No. Whatever story Meghan's team tried to construct crumbled the moment Thomas Markle Senior opened his mouth. Royal commentators were quick to call out the absurdity. Kinsey Schofield put it perfectly when she noted that Meghan's team has the Daily Mail on speed dial whenever they need favorable coverage planted. How else did those crisp images of Meghan's PR representative meeting with the King's communications team surface so quickly back in July? If Meghan wanted to reach her father, she could have contacted any journalist at the paper and had Thomas on the phone within minutes, but that would require genuine effort. That would require actually caring, and caring has never been Meghan's strong suit when it comes to the Markle family. This email stunt was not about reconnecting with her father. It was about creating plausible deniability. It was about being able to tell the press she tried so that when Thomas dies, she can claim she made the effort. The receipts exist, she will say, except everyone already knows those receipts are worthless. And just when you thought it could not get more suspicious, government officials started showing up at Thomas's hospital room. On Monday, something strange happened at the hospital in Cebu. 2 representatives from the United States consulate walked into Thomas Markle Senior's room unannounced. Consular agent Glenn Ivan Loop confirmed that the embassy in Manila had requested they visit the ailing 79-year-old. But when pressed for further details about why they were there, he declined to elaborate. The whole thing reeked of something orchestrated from thousands of miles away. Here is what we know for certain. Thomas Markle Jr. did not summon these officials. Caroline Graham, the Daily Mail journalist stationed at the hospital, did not call them either. And Samantha Markle, who has been coordinating updates from the United States, certainly had nothing to do with their arrival. So who sent them? The answer seems painfully obvious to anyone paying attention. Royal biographer Angela Levin did not mince words when discussing the mysterious visit. "I think the US consulates must have been sent by Meghan," she said. "They make this big fuss about how they have seen her act and she thinks she is so marvelous. I think the others would have ignored that altogether. The implication is damning. Rather than picking up the phone like a normal human being, Meghan allegedly deployed government contacts to do her bidding. A welfare check disguised as concern. A PR move wrapped in diplomatic protocol. The consular agent reportedly asked Thomas to make a list of people he authorized to receive health and well-being updates from the embassy. He also mentioned almost casually that he was a big fan of the television show Suits, the show that made Meghan famous before she married into royalty. Coincidence? Perhaps. But in the world of Sussex PR, coincidences rarely exist. Think about what this means for a moment. Meghan Markle, who cannot be bothered to call her own father, allegedly found the time and resources to coordinate a government visit to his hospital room. She has access to private jets. She has celebrity friends who would fly her anywhere in the world at a moment's notice. She has more money than most people will ever see in their lifetimes. And yet her solution to this crisis was to send embassy officials to check a box. Thomas Jr.'s reaction to this stunt was predictable. "Stop sending your government officials into the hospital," he demanded in one of his videos. "Pick up your phone, call Caroline Graham, you know her number. Pass the mobile phone over to Thomas Markle. Have a conversation. Anything less than that proves you are not a human being." The whole situation exposes something deeply troubling about how Meghan operates. She treats human relationships like transactions. Every interaction is calculated for maximum PR benefit with minimum personal investment. Sending government officials allows her to claim she took action without ever having to hear her father's voice or face the consequences of her abandonment. But while Meghan hides behind bureaucratic maneuvers, her siblings are fighting back with everything they have. If Meghan thought she could control the narrative around her father's medical emergency, she severely underestimated her half-sister. Samantha Markle has transformed into a one-woman wrecking ball on social media, systematically dismantling every PR spin the Sussex team attempts to deploy. And she is showing absolutely no mercy. When the Daily Telegraph ran an article claiming Meghan had personally called several hospitals in the Philippines searching for her estranged father, Samantha's response was swift and devastating. She posted the article with a single-word commentary, "Bollocks. No elaborate explanation needed. No lengthy rebuttal. Just one perfectly British dismissal that captured exactly what everyone was thinking." But Samantha was just getting started. She followed up with another post that cut even deeper. "Sources report seeing my sister in the area of the hospital. Dad is in. Could she be living up to all of that paid PR?" The accusation was clear. Whatever Meghan's team was leaking to friendly journalists was nothing more than fabricated nonsense designed to rehabilitate her shattered image. Then came the video that broke the internet. Using Grok, the artificial intelligence system built into X, Samantha created an animated clip of Meghan flying on a broomstick while holding a sign that read "fake as ever." The imagery was brutal, the message was unmistakable, and it reminded many viewers of what Thomas Markle Senior himself had said earlier this year about his youngest daughter, that she is not authentic, that she basically faked her way through her entire Netflix series. Samantha has made it her mission to expose what she calls Meghan's paid PR attempts to gaslight the public. Every statement from the Sussex camp gets dissected, every claim gets challenged, every convenient leak gets called out for what it is. And unlike Meghan, who hides behind spokespeople and carefully crafted statements, Samantha puts her name and face on everything she says. The contrast between the two sisters could not be more stark. Meghan preaches about empowerment and authenticity while allegedly paying people to spread favorable stories about her. Samantha calls her out directly, publicly, and without apology. Meghan sends emails to defunct addresses and embassy officials to hospital rooms. Samantha posts receipts and demands accountability. What makes Samantha's campaign so effective is her consistency. She has been sounding the alarm about Meghan's treatment of their father for years. Long before this medical emergency, she was warning people that the public image and the private reality were completely different. Now, with Thomas Senior lying in a hospital bed missing a leg, everything Samantha has been saying is being validated in the most heartbreaking way possible. If she is smart and at all humane, Samantha posted recently, she will find a way to help Dad in his rehabilitation. Recovery will be a long road. It would be good for her, and it would be good for Dad. You can lead a horse to water. The message was clear. The door remains open for Meghan to do the right thing, but nobody is holding their breath. And then there is Thomas Jr., whose rage has reached a boiling point that cannot be contained. The video was raw, unfiltered, and absolutely explosive. Thomas Markle Jr. sat in front of his camera, exhausted from weeks of caring for his dying father, and unleashed 7 years of fury at the sister who abandoned them both. YouTube eventually took it down for violating community guidelines, but the damage was done. The world had seen exactly how deep the wounds go. Meghan, while you are sitting there with your flower sprinkles and your pixie dust and God knows what you are putting in your brain, he snarled into the lens. "You look like you are medically induced on all your videos. You look like a psychopath." The words were harsh, brutal even, but they came from a place of genuine anguish. This was not a man performing for clicks. This was a brother watching his father suffer while his celebrity sister played pretend on Netflix. Junior did not stop there. He called out Meghan's so-called Sussex Squad, the online army of supporters who attack anyone who criticizes the Duchess. He labeled them a criminal organization, accusing them of death threats and harassment against the Markle family. "One day, all the Sussex Squad will be wiped off the face of the planet," he declared. "People of this evil caliber do not have a place on this world." The accusations were stunning in their specificity. Junior claimed that Meghan pays people to go after anybody who says anything bad about her. He described home invasions and coordinated attacks against family members who dare to speak out. Whether these claims are verifiable or not, the anger behind them is undeniably real. But perhaps the most devastating moment came when Junior addressed Meghan directly about her PR stunts. "You have had 7 years knowing my father's phone number," he said. "It has not changed for 15 years. It is the same phone number. You have not reached out. You have not texted. You have not called." The simplicity of that statement cuts through every excuse the Sussex team has offered. Phone numbers do not change. They do not require embassy officials to track down. They just require someone who actually cares enough to dial. Junior later returned to his channel to apologize for his language. "YouTube gave me a nice slap on the wrist," he admitted. "They said, 'Do not do that again, Tom.'" But while he expressed regret for the profanity, he did not walk back a single accusation. His message to Meghan remained unchanged. "Just go away. Nobody likes you. I personally hate you. Samantha hates you. And the majority of the people in the world hate you. and you did it to yourself." The exhaustion in his voice was palpable. Here is a man who has spent months as his father's primary caregiver in a foreign country. No help from his wealthy sister. No acknowledgement of his sacrifice. Just endless PR spin from Montecito while he changes bandages and monitors medications alone. And while Thomas Jr. burns with rage, the PR nightmare engulfing Meghan grows worse by the hour. The universe has a cruel sense of timing when it comes to Meghan Markle. Just when she thought her Netflix comeback would restore her tarnished image, fate delivered the most devastating counterpunch imaginable. Her father lost his leg the same week she dropped a holiday special about family values. You cannot make this stuff up. With Love, Meghan was supposed to be her triumphant return to the spotlight. A cooking show meets lifestyle brand that would remind the world why they fell in love with her in the first place. Instead, it landed with a spectacular thud. 0% on Rotten Tomatoes. Failed to crack the top 10 on Netflix in the United States. Critics savaged it as vapid and disconnected from reality. And then, just hours after it premiered, news broke that her elderly father was fighting for his life in a Philippine hospital. The optics could not possibly be worse. Here was Meghan, smiling her perfectly rehearsed smile, demonstrating how to arrange flowers and host elegant dinner parties. Meanwhile, Thomas Markle Senior was lying in intensive care, doctors warning his family that he might not survive the night. She filmed segments about the importance of family traditions while her actual family member had his leg amputated in a foreign country. The hypocrisy was staggering. But it gets worse. While Thomas was in surgery, Prince Harry sat down with Stephen Colbert to crack jokes and play games. The late-night host asked him to be king for a day, and Harry happily obliged, mugging for the camera while his father-in-law faced amputation. When the interview aired and news about Thomas broke simultaneously, Meghan's response was to share Colbert clips on her Instagram, not a word about her father, not a single acknowledgement that anything was wrong. Kinsey Schofield called it exactly what it was. Harry does Colbert while he knows Thomas is sick, and Meghan sits at home while she knows Thomas is sick, and is sharing Colbert posts on Instagram instead of shutting down and shutting up while we are trying to figure out what is going on with Thomas Markle. She looks so heartless, she looks so detached. The timing extends beyond just this week. Remember the Palisades fires that devastated Los Angeles earlier this year. That disaster erupted right as With Love, Meghan was originally scheduled to premiere, forcing Netflix to delay the release. The store Kitson, a beloved Los Angeles boutique that lost employees and neighbors in those fires, was so disgusted by Meghan's attempts to use the tragedy for publicity that they named her Villain of the Year in their holiday display window. They labeled her the Queen of Holiday Hypocrisy. Every time Meghan reaches for a win, something catastrophic intervenes. COVID shut down the world right after Megxit, Queen Elizabeth died the week of her Variety cover, and now her father's medical emergency has exposed the hollow core of her family values brand. Royal experts have been watching this disaster unfold with a mixture of horror and vindication. The verdict from royal watchers has been swift and unanimous. Meghan Markle's handling of her father's medical emergency is not genuine concern. It is crisis management, and everyone can see right through it. Angela Levin, Prince Harry's biographer and one of the most respected voices in royal commentary, offered a devastating assessment of why Meghan refuses to visit her father. She cannot bear to go and see him, Levin explained, but she realizes that her followers are absolutely leaving one after the other, because it is just such an appalling way of behaving with your father, who you did love when you were a little girl, and who he looked after brilliantly. Levin went further, suggesting that Meghan simply does not know how to handle genuine human emotion. She just cannot give in, you see, and she would not know how to behave when she saw him. What would she say? "My darling dad, look, you have been awful to me. That is why I have not spoken to you." She cannot do that sort of thing. She is not used to it. The royal expert also raised a chilling possibility about what might happen if Meghan does eventually show up in the Philippines. "I do not think she should be allowed to take him home by herself," Levin warned. "It should just be doctors and nurses because she will not know what to do with him. She will not know how to be nice to him. If she is awful to him, she might cause him to feel very, very ill." Kinsey Schofield was equally blunt in her assessment. "It should not take a woman that Serena Williams says is so smart or one of Fortune's most powerful women a week to get a hold of her ailing dad," she observed. The timeline is insane. Wednesday, Meghan drops With Love, Meghan. Harry is on the Colbert Show. We get word that Thomas is in the hospital, and Meghan's team's initial reaction was that they were fact-checking it. They were trying to prove its authenticity. That last point deserves emphasis. When news broke about Thomas Markle's emergency surgery, Meghan's team did not rush to express concern or offer assistance. They questioned whether it was even true. Schofield found this reaction telling. It was not concern like, "Please respect my father's privacy at this time." She should have said, "Back off." There is a bounty on that photo, the very first photo of her father with an amputated leg. Her initial reaction should have been protective. Instead, she was fact-checking. Multiple commentators noted the impossible position Meghan has created for herself. Even if she flies to the Philippines tomorrow, everyone will see it for what it is. A PR move designed to salvage her reputation rather than genuine reconciliation with her father. She waited too long. The moment for authentic action passed years ago. Now everything she does will be viewed through the lens of calculated self-interest. And through all of this, 2 small children remain caught in the middle of a family war they never asked for. There are 2 children growing up in a Montecito mansion who have no idea their grandfather exists. Archie, now 5 years old, and Lilibet, 3, have never seen Thomas Markle Senior's face except perhaps in photographs. They have never heard his voice, never felt his embrace, never experienced the love of a grandfather who desperately wants to know them, and that heartbreaking reality may be the cruelest element of this entire saga. Thomas Markle Sr. has 4 grandchildren in total. He has relationships with the others. He has watched them grow, celebrated their milestones, and been part of their lives in the way grandparents are supposed to be. But Archie and Lilibet remain phantoms to him, children he knows exist but cannot reach, and now lying in a hospital bed with one leg gone and his health deteriorating, he must wonder if he will ever meet them at all. The mathematics of estrangement are brutal. Meghan cut off contact with her father in 2018, just before her wedding. Archie was born in 2019. Lilibet arrived in 2021. These children have lived their entire lives without knowing their maternal grandfather. Every birthday, every Christmas, every milestone moment that families treasure, Thomas has missed them all. Kinsey Schofield put it in stark terms during a recent broadcast. Meghan can sit there and joke around and FaceTime with James Corden on his late-night show, but she cannot FaceTime her children with their grandfather so he can see what they look like for the first time. The technology exists. The ability is there. What is missing is the willingness. Consider the contrast with how Harry speaks about family. He constantly references the trauma of losing his mother at a young age. He talks endlessly about breaking cycles and protecting his children from pain. Yet he stands by while his wife ensures their children never know an entire branch of their family tree. The grandfather who might die never having seen their faces. The aunts and uncles they will never acknowledge. The cousins they will never play with. Thomas Sr. still holds on to hope despite everything. His statement from the hospital included a plea that this tragedy might help tear down the walls between the family. He wants reconciliation not for himself, but for those grandchildren he has never met. He wants them to know where they come from, who their people are. The man who worked 75-hour weeks to give their mother every opportunity she ever had. But Meghan has shown no indication that she intends to bridge this gap. Her children are growing up in a carefully curated bubble where the Markle side of the family simply does not exist. No awkward questions about grandpa. No complicated explanations about why mommy does not talk to her dad. Just silence where a relationship should be. And now, as Thomas faces the longest recovery of his life, the question of what happens next looms larger than ever. Thomas Markle Sr. faces a future that would challenge anyone half his age. Months of rehabilitation await him, learning to walk with a prosthetic limb, adjusting to a body that will never feel the same again, the phantom sensations of a leg that no longer exists. And he will navigate all of this from a high-rise apartment in the Philippines, far from the world-class medical facilities his wealthy daughter could easily provide. The logistics alone are overwhelming. Thomas Jr. has been his primary caregiver, but even the most devoted son has limits. A man recovering from amputation needs round-the-clock care, physical therapy sessions, medical equipment, possibly a full-time nurse. The apartment building where Thomas lives requires navigating floors that will become infinitely more difficult without 2 functioning legs. Will he need to relocate? Who will pay for it all? These questions have answers, but none of them are coming from Montecito. Thomas Jr. has made his position crystal clear. He will protect his father with his life. He will remain in the Philippines as long as necessary, and he will ensure that Meghan's PR machine cannot swoop in at the last moment to claim credit for a reconciliation that never happened. Zero access, zero mercy. Those are the terms now. The speculation about whether Meghan will eventually appear has consumed royal watchers for weeks. Some believe she will wait until the media pressure becomes unbearable and then stage a carefully photographed visit designed to rehabilitate her image. Others think she has written her father off completely, just as she described him in her Netflix documentary, speaking about him as though he had already passed away. The woman who talks endlessly about compassion may simply lack the capacity for it when cameras are not rolling. Royal experts have suggested what Meghan should do if she possesses any humanity at all. Get on a private jet. Fly to the Philippines, bring the grandchildren Thomas has never met. Let him see their faces before it is too late. Arrange for world-class doctors to consult on his care. Use the wealth and connections she constantly brags about to actually help someone who needs it. But every day that passes without action makes clear that none of this will happen. The question that haunts everyone watching this tragedy unfold is simple but devastating. What kind of person abandons their dying father? What kind of daughter builds a brand around family values while her own family falls apart? What kind of mother denies her children the chance to know their grandfather? The answers paint a portrait that no amount of PR can airbrush away. Thomas Markle Senior wanted his family made whole again. Instead, he lies in a hospital bed, missing a leg and missing a daughter who was never really there. And somewhere in Montecito, Meghan Markle is probably planning her next photo opportunity, completely oblivious to the wreckage she leaves behind. Drop your thoughts below. Like, subscribe, and stay tuned. The next video is waiting, and you will not believe what is coming next.